Thank you very much. Now, as I came on this morning, I was assuming there would be a lectern. I have notes to work from, so although I would like to walk around the stage impressively talking about stuff that I look like I know about, I'm afraid I'm going to have to use my notes to talk you through this. What I want to talk about is essentially artificial intelligence, AI, and how it's taken us and the industry by storm, and how it's being evolved into the worlds of advertising, a quick look at banking, and also in the worlds of travel and what have you. It is really my task today to talk about where machine intelligence has been added to human beings and the way that those two work together, and potentially how that's evolving in the space that I'm familiar with and work in, which is the RTB space. So first of all, we talk about artificial intelligence, but what is it? Artificial intelligence, certainly to the way I understand it, is where machines begin to make decisions where only humans previously did. It's a complicated world where instead of just doing a dynamic where a machine is programmed to do a specific task, the machines start learning and making decisions on their own without any human intervention. That essentially is artificial intelligence, and it's beginning to make inroads in all sorts of directions. Did you know, for example, that by 2020, it's expected, according to Gartner, that 26 billion devices will be involved in the Internet of Things, will be connected to the Internet. Wearable computing will be the norm, and it will provide huge amounts of data, and that data will be used and programmed into devices to make decisions in advertising, in terms of your lifestyle, and it'll be involved in, artificial intelligence will be making decisions about when to restock your fridge, what the cooking time should be for a dish that you've just done. Pulse bands are giving information right now about where people are and the activity that they're involved in. And it's going to evolve, and it's going to migrate into so many different areas. Right now, in the state of Nevada, in 2012, in the state of Nevada, the first license was granted for a self-driving autonomous car. Now, self-driving cars are licensed throughout the state of Florida, and Google has racked up hundreds of thousands of road miles. They first progressed into the motorway space, but now they're beginning to evolve into the urban space where there are so many more decisions to be made and therefore potentially more problems. These are creating problems and opportunities for scientists, and the area of artificial intelligence is migrating and making decisions quicker and quicker where we trust these robots with our lives. We already obviously do in areas of travel such as aeroplanes and areas where we don't control directly, but the personal automation of cars is really a step forward. There was a study in healthcare last year. It was called the Ellie experiment. It was particularly interesting because it highlighted the way that humans interact differently with artificial intelligence compared to with other humans. When faced with tough or perhaps embarrassing questions, patients are often not fully willing to disclose elements to doctors. So in this test, there were 239 people who were put in front of Ellie, which was essentially a virtual psychologist designed to detect psychological problems and chat about the lives of the patients. Now, half of the people who were studied were told truthfully that they would be interacting with an artificially intelligent machine. The other half were falsely told that the machine and the picture that they were discussing things was actually like a puppet and was directly related or directly being controlled by a human being. What was interesting was that the people involved in this study were far more forthcoming when it came to talking to the machine, and they showed a lower sadness score and a greater willingness to disclose detailed information about their lives than those that actually assumed that machine was being directly controlled by a human. Now, where does that show an advantage? Potentially, if you look at post-traumatic stress disorder in soldiers, where they are pre-programmed to look tough and to not discuss problems, it really gives an opportunity for machines to start diagnosing and helping patients like that. And it's in all areas of healthcare that's progressing. Another interesting area is finance. Right now, artificial intelligence reads news bulletins in a blink of an eye for any financial information that may be available to influence a trade or a sell. And those trades or sales are now made in nanoseconds. Did you know, I discovered actually in the making of this speech today, that a nanosecond essentially, 1 second is to a nanosecond, a nanosecond is to 1 second, what 1 second is to 31.7 years. That's incredibly quick information. And that kind of speed can absolutely change the way that stock markets work, potentially flooding stocks with unexecuted orders or potentially manipulating markets. Also, an interesting fact, 95% of orders that were submitted by high-speed artificial intelligence AI-based traders were actually cancelled at the process that they were bought because of shifting stock prices across the stock market. So artificial intelligence has the opportunity and the potential to disrupt markets that it's already heavily involved in. Intelligent computing can really begin to solve problems on the go. One of the areas that we're most familiar with is, for example, the chess computer, where it gathers information and compares the existing data that it has to determine what action to make. It's a simple equation, essentially aimed to solve a specific program that it's been pre-programmed to solve. Another example is a robot that needs to make a decision about when to step over something. Once it's navigated that difficulty, it learns, and the next time it comes up against a difficulty, it knows exactly how to progress. But AI is progressing well beyond there. There's a computer right now called Kismet that's been developed at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, that's passed many demanding tests and actually fooled humans into believing that it can read body language, or it can read body language, voice inflection, and potentially responding just as a human in a computerized world. The future for artificial intelligence is very interesting. The real challenge is to understand how natural intelligence works. Developing it isn't like building an artificial heart, where you actually have a simple or a concrete model to work from, and you have to emulate that to perfection. Systems need to evolve themselves. Developers are beginning to let artificial intelligence, AI, loose in virtual environments to see how they cope in those environments. Essentially, this leads an artificial intelligence to create its own design and to discard modifications that don't fit. A single change in perhaps a single element is much like the mutation seen in natural selection, in organic growth. We potentially are seeing these modifications combine to produce offspring of their own, evolving as the process continues and developing far greater insight into artificial intelligence. In late 2013, there was a study done which incorporated 1,896 experts. It was called the Pew Study. And one of the questions that was asked was, will networked, automated, artificial intelligence-based robotic devices have displaced more jobs than they've created by 2025? And that's a question which is very relevant in the advertising world in which I work today. It was interesting that just under half of the respondents scarily forecast that a displacement of workers in the future and a massive income inequality would come out of this, potentially leading to unemployment. Whereas the other half directly disagreed, saying that many highlighted that they felt that although there was an anticipation that many jobs that are being managed today may be managed by robots, they believe an ingenuity will ensure the creation of new types of jobs that evolve into the market, just as we've been doing ever since the early days of the Industrial Revolution. Therefore, jobs will migrate. However, an interesting fact was that both groups agreed that existing structure, especially education, is not currently equipped to give people the skills that they require for the job markets of the future. The way our children are being educated, therefore, needs to evolve. As the concept of work changes, in the coming decades, we need to prepare. Technology is not destiny. We should aim to control the future we inhabit by training and education evolving with that. And schools and education needs to evolve. I think it's interesting to look at some of the specific answers that came from the arguments of those that looked at or expected artificial intelligence to be a positive impact. Here are some statements. Throughout history, technology has been a job creator, not a job destroyer. Advances in technology will create new jobs and industries even as they displace some of the older ones. And many expressed a doubt that technology would advance enough in the next decade to substantially impact the current job market. Others highlighted that our social and legal structures potentially could minimize the impact on employment. Rather more scarily, the arguments from those who expect artificial intelligence to displace jobs and create unemployment tended to focus on the displacement of workers currently happening today, plus the belief that the economic consequences will potentially lead to inequality that's profound. I don't honestly know, but the reality is there are huge possibilities. Maybe it's less drudgery in work time, and maybe a greater amount of leisure time. Hal Varian from Google recently quoted that work week at Google has fallen from around 70 hours a week to about 37 hours now. And I expect that will continue to fall. It will free us from industrial age notion of what a job is. And Jim Hendler from the BBN Technology said, the notion of work as a necessity for life cannot be sustained if the great bulk of manufacturing and such moves to machines. But humans will adapt, as they did in the Industrial Revolution, and we'll see a unique change towards human forms of production, where potentially there is an increasing demand already for artisanal or handcrafted products that are made specifically by human, and potentially there'll be a trend where relocalization and rehumanization of economy starts or begins again. Much as in the 19th to 20th century, and economies of scale potentially will only be used where they really make sense. In the world in which I operate, or our company operates, rocket fuel enables and works on the basis of a lot of artificial intelligence-based decisions. It enables us, amongst other things, to make decisions about, and through brand safety, identifying behavior patterns through the use of pixels and deciding what really is a human being sitting behind the screen where we're trying to create some advertising. With so much online activity today, advertising money flowing in, the inevitable problem of fraud exists, and artificial intelligence can be a really strong force for both recognizing and policing this. We're currently producing a piece of technology that we expect to release for free to publishers and advertisers that will do a basic and instant check to decide how many impressions that are being served are potentially likely to be non-human, i.e. bot traffic, versus impact of advertising. This potentially can have a really positive effect on the real impact of online and digital advertising. The future is one where RTB utilizes artificial intelligence as a growing area of investment. RTB is specifically projected to grow in the coming years, with a 28% growth this year and a 48% growth next year, with potentially a 60 to 70% growth into the digital market, so that all digital spending is done through RTB, or most of digital spending is done through RTB in a couple of years' time. Certainly from the future from where we're looking, sorry, slightly behind. Future from where we're looking is massive developments and progress in AI in the mobile space, and attention to fraud detection, inventory quality, the brand safety environment for advertisers, and viewability, working out whether an ad has actually been seen, is all going to rely on artificial intelligence. And there's going to be increased investment in RTB by brands because of this safe environment. At Rocket Fuel, At Rocket Fuel, we believe that the combination of artificial intelligence, data, and people helps advertisers get the best from their communication strategies. And it's this team, artificial intelligence and people-based approach, that allows us to deliver advertising that learns and serve our customers better. Thank you very much for your time.